A busy Saturday afternoon on the field of 68, and let's see if I got this right this time. I think I did. I think I did it. See? Vast improvement, Rob. Big day. Big day. We'll talk about little Big Ten action. We got Minnesota with a huge win, knocking off the undefeated Michigan Wolverines, who all Michigan fans thought was never going to lose a game all season, I think. Ohio State, beating Illinois. I mean, they drilled them in the first half, and then Illinois came back, had a chance to win it. But impressive win by the Buckeyes. Baylor going into Lubbock, staying undefeated, getting a win against Chris Beard. It's always a good, victory for anybody. Then the SEC, Alabama drills Arkansas. And I don't even know what you call this game. Like, is it like the lightweight matchup? Auburn gets past Kentucky?
The toilet bowl of the SEC.
Kind of is. Where do you want to start? What was, in your opinion, what was the biggest thing that happened today?
Let's start in the Big Ten. I don't think it's the biggest thing, so I think Baylor, Texas Tech was the biggest thing. But if we start in the Big Ten, I'd like to start with Illinois. Something is wrong there. And I'm not totally sure what it is. I'm not sure anybody knows what it is, but you just look at them and they lose Andres Feliz from last year's team. He's a winner, right? Like he's gonna be a guy that goes and scraps and will fight somebody for Io DeSumo. Like they miss him, man. I really believe that. And I don't get why Illinois in all these games has to get down 15 points. I mean, they get bludgeoned on these runs. They get literally just like they can't score and they can't guard anybody. And I'm not sure why, because their personnel is really good. Now,
we talked about it. EJ Liddell's out there, drilling threes because Kofi can't get out there.
Their kryptonite, right? Like a stretch big. And Illinois can flip that and crush them on the glass, which I thought Ohio State did a phenomenal job of rebounding, being physical. They frustrated Kofi today too. Like Kofi at times was like, as Coach Painter used to tell me, he was emotionally drunk. He was emotionally drunk on the floor at times.
Did you see when he threw the ball down at the end? There was no way the refs were going to hit him with a tee, Rob, because they're scared of him. Honestly, I really think they're intimidated by Kofi, where if that had been you who had done that, they would have been like, they would have teed you up in a heartbeat.
Respect level that Eddie Hightower and Teddy Valentine had. They wouldn't have got me. But with that being said, I think about Ohio State, you've got to give Chris Holtmann a ton of credit, man. Their game plan was great. They were physical. Their traps were on time. They did a nice job on Io. I thought that Maryland really kind of, I don't want to say exposed, but I want to say set a playbook for how to guard him. Keep him left all game. Make him go to his left hand. On that handoff action they run all the time, man, jump it and bring him back to his left side so he can't go off the pick and roll. And Ohio State didn't necessarily do that today, but they did a nice job of containing him, and he missed some looks that he normally makes, I think. But I'm concerned about Illinois. I really am. There is something missing there, and I don't know what it is, and I haven't given him props yet. You mentioned EJ Liddell. That's the best I've ever seen him play.
He awesome.
I think he was excited to get back to Illinois. Yes. Basketball. It was impressive. They were really, really good. And to do that without a point guard, without CJ Walker, without Jimmy Sotos, it's pretty big time.
At some point, I want to do that of maybe the best head coaches. And it's hard because you're going to do it and you're going to put obviously K, Izzo, Beard, some of those guys were going to have the same, out of our top 10, we'll probably have 7 of the same 10. And we'll make a rule that you cannot have Painter in your top 10.
That's why? He's a top 10 coach.
Because you're not objective when it comes to him. He'll yell at you if you don't put him in there.
No, he won't. He literally won't. I know.
You're right. He probably wouldn't. He
told me before to not worry about being too critical. He says just be honest. So I really don't think he would yell at me.
Well, listen, he definitely belongs somewhere in the back half of that top 10. He does. I mean, you can make a case for, I think Chris Holtmann Has he done it long enough? Maybe not. But I'm saying, like, who gets guys that get more with less? I think Chris Holtman's got to be on your list with what he did at Butler and what he's doing now at Ohio State. I mean, like you said, he didn't have a point guard today. They did not have a point guard.
Looks like a fish out of water trying to handle the ball all the time.
He's not a point.
But I mean, they found a way. They did. I mean, they're playing Musa Jallo, who's kind of been, he's a kid that reclassified, and he's been okay. But I mean, he's
been hurt a lot too. Yeah,
been great. Seth Towns did good things in the first half. That's got to be encouraging. He's talented. That's the first time I've really seen him play, to be honest with you. And the step back and made some threes. He had a nice game.
He was Ivy League Player of the Year before he got hurt, missed 2 seasons. So, like, nobody's seen him in 2 years. But, we put him and probably shouldn't have. I moved him down the list a little bit, but our boy Borzello put him as, like, his top 4 or 5 transfer, maybe even higher than that in the country. And I think I had him probably, like, at 10, only because of the fact that you knew he wasn't going to come back the player that he was 2 years ago. I mean, he hasn't played in 2 years. All right, so Illinois, we're both worried about. I worry, too, a little bit, Rob, of like you said, Feliz, the guys that were like chipping the shoulder, tough, just good pieces. And then you bring in the Millers and the Curbellos that come in really thinking, oh, by the way, that when they were coming in, that Iowa wasn't going to be here.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? It was going to be their show.
Very valid point. I also see, like, they certainly play with a lot of swagger, but they talk a lot of shit and haven't backed it up this year.
They haven't done anything. They haven't done shit. We put them high in the preseason rankings based on Io being an elite player, which he was. He's one of the better players certainly in the country. I don't know. It's funny. So I did a mock draft last week, and I reached out to a bunch of NBA guys about Io. Because I just wanted to he's one of those guys that I really think is a lightning rod a little bit for NBA guys. Some guys love him, some guys don't. Initially, I had him closer to like 10 to 14. And a lot of guys I talked to said, hey, listen, I'm not taking him until 25.
I just wonder how well his game translates to the NBA. He's bigger and faster than right now. Can you make shots?
Right.
Over a bigger, more athletic defender? Can you still get to the rim when you've got dudes that are 7 foot coming over to pack that thing in the stands? Those are valid questions.
All right. So the other Big Ten game that I was surprised but not blown away by, I guess I was blown away a little bit just because of the way the game went and that it was never a game, was Minnesota at home 10 days later after getting blasted by Michigan. Does the blasting this team and time. And Liam Robbins was terrific. Michigan, obviously, without Eli Brooks, a key piece for them. And I think Michigan's the type of team that needs everybody.
Defending Marcus Carr.
Right.
That's what he did in the first game for the first 25 minutes. He set the tone on them. And, I mean, he's an elite on-the-ball, off-the-ball defender. So they really – and also another ball handler and a guy that can make plays. Today, they were just, that's a big-time loss for them in terms of a personnel piece. This was going to happen. I mean, the league is too good. Michigan had played really, really well this year, but it's not like a time to panic, I would say. I think you're right what you said about how Michigan's fans thought they weren't going to lose all year. And the league's just too good, man. It's like they didn't shoot well. They didn't play well. And, Marcus Carr, I thought, controlled the game and took – great shots, made great decisions, made plays for other people. And like you said, Liam Robbins he's a stud, man. He's a really good player. And also when you play a game where you get blasted like that, and clearly Michigan is not 40 points better than Minnesota. You knew they were going to come out and really at least play hard. And they punched Michigan in the mouth early. It's really not surprising to me. I'm not surprised to see the way that went down today.
Well, you're not, because it happened at the barn. And can I give you some numbers? So Minnesota is one of those teams where you just can't get out of your head of how different they are at home and on the road. So I did a little research on my own and came up with the numbers about Minnesota in the Richard Pitino era. Are you ready for these at home just in conference games? Forget about non-conference, just conference games. Minnesota under Richard Pitino, 38-31 at home in the Big Ten, 14-55 on the road. How about that? Why, Rob?
I have no idea. I mean, they look like two different teams on the road this year. They play well at, I'm going to call it Satan's lair of college basketball, where I blew my knee out. They've been a different team, man. Marcus Carr's been different. They just, I don't know. I'd love to look at the shooting splits from home and away for all those guys in those years and see if they're, just not making shots, or if they don't, they've got to find a way to make it travel. There's something you've got to find a way, because you can make the NCAA tournament winning all your home games and losing all your road ones, but you're cutting hairs. Like, you've got to win a couple road. Make it easy on yourself. Don't make yourself sweat out Selection Sunday.
They're 4-0 at home this year, 0-4 on the road. So then I reached out to my boy Kenny Pomeroy and asked him. I said, "Hey man, like, is this? Can you run something for me? Can you run something for me over that period of the teams that have the biggest disparity from home and on the road in conference play?" So you ready? Pretty good. Colorado, the biggest disparity since 2013-14, which is what we're looking at from when Richard Pitino took over. Colorado is 50-16 at home, 18-49 on the road. I'll give you a few others. This is good for just interesting. Louisiana Tech, number 2. Oklahoma, number 3. They're 47-19 at home, 21-45 on the road. Southern Miss 4. Northern Iowa 5. Sacramento State 6. Iowa State, not a big surprise there. 7. Oregon State 8. Akron, Drake, Stanford, North Dakota State, Minnesota 13, Oregon 14, Florida State 15. So Colorado is the team with the biggest disparity. I get it, but I don't, especially a place like Colorado. Like, it's not like it's some great home court advantage, Rob.
Altitude, though.
Great point.
Altitude.
Great point. Yeah, that's right. And they give them more than 3 points. When Vegas does it, they give Colorado more than 3 points at home. So that totally makes sense. So the next one would be Oklahoma. Pretty good home court advantage. Pretty good. Not elite level, but decent. You've been there, right?
Okay. The Lloyd Noble Center.
Yeah, it used to be great. When I went there a bunch when Blake Griffin was there, and it was terrific. Absolutely terrific then. It was probably pretty good when Trae Young was there as well for that year. But, yeah, Minnesota's got to find a way. They got to find a way. All right, let's move on. Let's go Baylor next because Baylor didn't have it tonight. They really didn't. I mean, they couldn't score, which is no surprise because Texas Tech is one of the best defensive teams in the country. We know that. Jared Butler was, as I texted you, it looked like he was shaving points tonight for the first 35 minutes. It did.
He couldn't play worse, that's for sure.
It was awful.
Hey, man, he rose up. And I was thinking to myself as I was watching the game, like, he's the type of guy that he can miss all those shots, and I still think at the end of the day he's going to make plays at the end. And he did.
He did.
In the game, both teams are forcing a crazy amount of turnovers, just the way that they play. They're both elite defensively. I mean, those are two teams that can really. I just love Baylor's personnel. Like, Matt Meyer, like an NBA talent. He might not play in the NBA, but, I mean, he's 6'8", he's rangy, he's super athletic. There's some, I think, other things maybe that he needs to do better to get to be even a really, really good college player.
Yeah.
He's, man, dude, that's impressive, dude. And those guards, man, Maceo Teague, Davion Mitchell, Jared Butler, those dudes can hoop. I really like their team. You're right. They did not play well today, but you find a way to win on the road with actual fans in the building against a top 15 opponent. Scott Drew's team is really good, man. I really like Baylor.
They guard every game. They have two of the elite defenders in the country, and Vital and Davion Mitchell. And Davion Mitchell was really good offensively today. The big shot I thought really was the three by Flagler at the end there. They didn't get out on him.
Offense off the bench, like
Right.
that, he can really score. I love Mark Vital. I think he is hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, talked about his defense. We were doing the game at Iowa State a couple weeks ago, and we were actually on site. And one of those small Iowa State guards went to block him out early in the first half. I think it was like Rasheer Bolton or Taylor Coleman Lands. And Vital gets hit with this block out and literally goes flying. They call a foul. And I even thought to him, I think I said something like, man, for a guy that's 250, like, I'm not sure what else Jalen Coleman Land's supposed to do on that. He's got to try to block him out. Like, Vital's huge. So it's a TV timeout. They go to the benches. He's walking back. And I was just kind of looking at him. And I think he saw that I was looking at him. And he literally just winks at me.
Like, I got him.
Yeah, like, I got him. And then after he walks by the table, and I'm like, he goes, man, you like that? I was like, he's 275 pounds. And Jalen, he goes, dude, I had to get to the line. It's like that.
Well, he did it tonight at the end. He tried to draw a charge, and they called the flop on him.
Terrible play, dude. And with that, like, you know Santos Silva is going left. Like, just follow the scouting report, man. Like,
yeah.
He is hilarious. He's really funny, and he can really guard too.
You know, I think now we can say it again, and we weren't for a minute. We started to say, okay, Gonzaga, and then Baylor, and Michigan, and Texas, and Iowa, and can we get back to the way it was? Which is, yeah, Gonzaga's probably a quarter step ahead of Baylor,
right?
But Baylor's clearly the number 2 team in the country today.
Still could play. I know they talked about how it's not like off the table.
Yeah, they got to just honestly, we got to tell. All right, so let's look at the schedule here. We're going to set this thing up for next week. All right, here's what we got to do. We have to set it up. It's got to be a CBS game. All right. So number one, I think it pretty much has to be a CBS game. So it's got to be on a Saturday. So we're not going to do it next Saturday because Baylor plays at Oklahoma State, and we want to see that game. We want to see Cade. Then they got Auburn at home on the 30th. All right. February 6th, they have TCU at home. Can we tell Jamie Dixon, just bow out? Just bow out, Jamie Dixon, and we'll tell Mark Few. He runs the WCC anyway, Rob. So all he's got to do is tell the WCC whatever game he's got on February 6th. I'm going to look right now. I would assume he can just figure that thing out. And February 6th, they don't even play. They play Loyola Marymount on the 4th, and they actually have a break, and they play Santa Clara on the 11th. So February 6th, Rob, that's the date. Let's get it done. Let's tell Jamie Dixon, come up with some excuse, not COVID. We don't need to be faking COVID stuff, but just bow out. Bow out of the game. It's you're doing it for college basketball, Dixon.
I'm sure Randy Bennett loves hearing you say that Mark Few runs the West Coast Conference. I'm sure that makes him
We'll see tonight.
The problem with the Big 12 is that they're going to play every Saturday. Like, those games they're so consistent because they have 10 teams. You play like Tuesday, Wednesday. You play
if they test. The only way it happens, Rob. The only way this happens is if TCU goes on a pause like 5 days before that game. If they go on a pause February 1st, this is what the country needs this to happen. TCU to go on a pause, be healthy. I'm not looking for anything bad here, but go on a pause February 1st, TCU.
Pause with no bad reasoning. You can't just it's not possible. It has to be it would have to be COVID.
Right. Okay. So COVID to one person, but it's like a false positive, Rob.
You want a false positive spree.
I want a false positive with TCU. Yes. I want a couple false positives. That's what we need.
Man, those guards and Gonzaga's bigs, that would be
we need it
for college basketball right now. Especially because it does kind of feel like COVID, the situation is, I don't want to say spiraling, but it's getting worse, right?
Yeah.
I've had games in a row canceled. I had a game Wednesday, canceled. I had a game today, canceled. My game tomorrow got moved to CBS because of other cancellations. So it's like, it's just weird.
Yeah. No, it is getting worse. I mean, we had it. Think about this, like 3 weeks ago, you had it where there were less than 20 teams on a pause. Now you're talking about more than 40 right now.
Rothstein's tweet about that, and it was like maybe the negativity has stopped him from tweeting about the teams that are on pause.
No, I think he still does it, but he doesn't have the correct teams. He doesn't have a full list. He just like he cherry picks which ones he wants to put on there instead of actually reporting.
False narrative is what you're saying.
False narrative. Come on, Shtick Boy, do it all. I got all of them. I'll tweet it out once a week. I'm not doing this every single day. I'll do it once a week. Anyway, all right. So I have a little bit of a hot take here. And my hot take involved you doing a little bit of homework, which was my question to you was, who is the most important player to their team in the entire country? The most important player to their team. Who is it, Rob?
Put in much homework because a lot of it had to do with what happened today.
Yeah.
I kept just coming across point guards because how important they are. So Marcus Zagorowski at Creighton is one. And then I'd say Marcus Carr. When he balls, they win. Yeah. He doesn't, they lose. I think that's kind of an oversimplistic way of looking at college basketball. But man, it's such a guards game. Like, and Luka Garza is super important to them, but like they still have other guys. Like, and they run a lot of stuff through him. But I just feel like when you take Zagorowski away from Creighton, they don't look the same, like with their pace, with their offense. Like it's just a different type of deal. And Marcus Carr, the same thing. When he's playing right and he's playing the right way and he's going, man, they are really, really good. And when he's not, they are a very average college basketball team.
I'm going to say Zagorowski because of their ceiling. Like their ceiling without him, we saw it today, right? I mean, you don't lose at Butler right now.
What, 5 to go?
Yeah. I mean, there's no way you lose that game. With him, they win that game by double digits. And I do think with him, Creighton has a chance. Actually, I think more than just a chance. I think they're a legitimate Final Four team. I don't know if they're a national title team because of Gonzaga. Everything hinges on Gonzaga right now. So when you say like they're a national title contender, everybody looks at you like you're crazy because it's like Gonzaga, Baylor, everybody else. But I think they have all the pieces now.
I totally agree. I think that with their offense, they've got Denzel Mahoney can really, really score. I think he's an improved defender. You know, Balak is a big-time shooter.
Yep.
Creighton's good, man. But I think today, you're right. You saw kind of without him running the show, it's a different animal out there.
We've talked a bunch about Alabama. Are you? What's that?
We or you?
Probably me. I mean, I still have the hat on, you know.
Fanboy.
Are you a believer?
I mean, beating Arkansas by 31. No, I don't know. I mean, they're okay. The SEC's okay. Like,
you're such a Big Ten guy.
I'm a company man. We'll see. I mean, I just feel like the SEC is so down.
It is.
Kentucky not being great and losing to Auburn today. Like, I don't know. Alabama's got some nice pieces. They remind me a lot of like the Baylor teams when Scott Drew first got the job with like Tweety Carter and Lasdarius Dunn, where they're just running all over the place. We played them in the NCAA tournament. Both teams are super talented, but at the end of the day, you're back. Were you gone?
Yeah, you were gone. I think you left me.
Oh, it said that you were. Oh, whatever.
I thought you were tired of me.
Yeah. It reminded me of those Baylor teams where like, all right, it's gonna be a track meet, and we drew them in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And everybody was saying, how's Purdue gonna guard Baylor? Man, we beat them by freaking 28 points. Like, it wasn't even close. But I just feel like their style of play is so when they're going, and when they're not, man, they could lose to anybody. But they do have some, like Petty's good. It's good to see Herb Jones back. You know, Shackelford played well again today.
They were without Bruner.
Bruner's out, and then Quinterly was out. Javon Quinterly didn't play either.
He played today. He was solid. Yeah, he was solid. So I feel like once they get Bruner back in a month, they're going to have some hiccups between now and when they get Bruner back. But I just think the one thing they do have is an elite defender. Now, I'm not sure, Petty's in and out sometimes, but when you have Herb Jones, who is all about the right things and all about toughness, and I feel like their offense, while it can be a little frenetic and sometimes they take some terrible shots, I get it. They still, if they're making threes, Rob, and they're not taking shitty twos. They're like the Brad Stevens in a way of the NBA, in a sense that they're jacking a lot of threes. The numbers say that, again, don't take long twos, or either jack threes or get to the basket, and that's what they do. Again, it's worked lately. They've got momentum. They have talent. I don't know. I'm buying them. Am I buying them as much as a few of those elite teams? No, not yet, and probably not ever. But I do think right now, Nate Oates has done a hell of a job with this group.
I saw a video on Twitter today of them with a 4-on-2 fast break, and no one ran to the basket. It ended up being a three for John Petty. He took a contested three. But it's amazing to me. I kind of blame Steph Curry. Not blame him, but he has done this to us because he's so good. And now you see guys with 2-on-1s and 3-on-2s. They don't go to the rim. It's not like get a layup anymore. Right. It's get a three.
They just jack, and they think they're Steph.
What's that?
They think they're Steph. That's the problem. You're right. They think they're elite shooters. And John Petty, on a certain day, is an elite college shooter.
He definitely is. Think about how many bad shots we've had to endure because Steph Curry, and think about how many bad Euro steps we've had to see because of man. Those two guys, it's just we've seen some of the worst plays ever because for them it's so easy,
I told KD a few years ago, I was like, you realize you've screwed it up for every big guy and for us watching every big guy in the NBA. And he looked at me like he was shocked that I would not say it, but that he was the one who revolutionized big guys. I think Dirk started it, but I think KD, it's a different level.
Dirk is still a big at the end of the day. Durant is a 2-guard and he's 7 foot tall. So that's totally accurate. But now you're seeing some guys like a Michael Porter Jr. who's 6'11", 2-guard. He's revolutionized that, and it's not just. It's also the game has changed too. Even if you're big, shooting threes is acceptable. Whereas before, when I was a kid, if you were big, a lot of coaches would just be post them up.
Right.
That's the way they did it. Yeah. And now it's, I think if you're a good coach, you would post your guards and you'd bring your bigs out on the perimeter.
Invert it. Yep. And a lot of them do.
That's what smart coaches do.
All right. Well, listen. Good day of hoops. We still got the Zags St. Mary's tonight. We got to pull a good guest for our pod this week. I think we may go Nate Oates, Robbie. I think we may see if he's available.
You hear that? Roll Tide, right?
Roll Tide. There it is. The hat stays on. I also have this new home field apparel sweatshirt. I don't know if you can see who it is. You know who that is?
Like a bear.
An old Baylor Bears logo. You like it?
Solid sweatshirt for you there.
Came in pretty good. So we're all geared up right now. So anybody who wants to send me some gear, your team has to win. That's the key. You gotta be a winner for me to wear your gear. I'm not wearing Purdue gear after they get their ass kicked.
And we did just beat Indiana. So
you did. That was yes. How did you celebrate, by the way?
I didn't. I watched the game, and I 8 straight is crazy though.
Crazy. What was your record? Hey, what was your record against IU?
It wasn't as good as it could have been. So my freshman year, we only played once. Big time game. We were both top 15 teams at Assembly Hall. That was Eric Gordon, DJ White. So 0-1 as a freshman. Only played them once as a sophomore. So 1-1. Okay. Junior year, we won at Assembly Hall. We beat them at Mackey, so that would be what, 3-1.
Yep.
You're set out. I'm going to count because it betters me. We swept them, so 5-1.
No, I only want games you played in. Only games you played in.
I just was indisposed with my knee, and then we got swept by them my fifth year.
You did.
Yeah, lost twice. So 5-3. I will say though, I always hooped at Assembly Hall. I want to say I had 19 as a freshman there. I think I had 23 as a junior, and I think I had 18 or 19 as a fifth year.
All right, we're looking up your stats. Before the next podcast, I'm going to get your full stats against IU in your career.
On the road, I always balled at Indiana. I don't know why.
They were busy yelling at you, ripping on you for,
It is. That game is so special, though. Like, you'd walk out of Assembly Hall for like to shoot 2 hours before, and it is packed.
Yeah.
And like, I went out again.
I don't know. All right, we'll call it. We'll call it a day here. You can finish up the IU comments, the stories next week. Give me a good one when we tell, hopefully, NATO, it's your IU stats at Assembly Hall.
I look forward to that because they were good.
All right, have a good night, and we will see you next week.
Good. See you, Jeff.
Later, man.